guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I have Becca's Bookopoly round 14. So if you are unaware of what Becca's Bookopoly is, this is a board game that I play every month that's based on Monopoly to pick the books I'm going to be reading. If this is the first time that you are seeing one of these videos and you would like to get acquainted with the board and the rules, I will link last month's Bookopoly video up here because we are now working with a brand new board. But as I said, this is round 14 of me doing this, so I will also link the full Bookopoly playlist in my description box. But for those of you who know what Bookopoly is and are here to see me suffer, let's move on. So February is the shortest month of the year, but thank the higher powers for the extra day as 2020 is a leap year, and with her Bookopoly is always treating me really. I think I'm gonna need it. So in the month of February, there are 3 readathons occurring that I have my eye on. Not sure if I'm going to be taking part yet, but they are Polathon, which is hosted by my good friend Jade from JD Ray Reads. We also have Contemporaryathon, which is hosted by Natasha from My Reading is Odd, Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Reads, and Julie from Pages and Pens. And then the third one is Blackathon, which is a readathon that spans the whole month to celebrate Black History Month, and that one is being hosted by Jessie over at Ties and Books and Lauren from the Novel Lush. So those are the 3 readathons that I have in mind. We'll see how Bookopoly treats me, whether I can actually participate. But as you guys know, I do make weekly reading vlogs, so if I am participating in any of those, I will of course be documenting it in my vlogs. I think that's pretty much all I have to tell you about the month of February. So before we get into those roles, let's recap my January Bookopoly TBR. So January's Bookopoly selected 7 books for me to read, one of which was a library book that I have returned, and that was the first book selected, which was Birthday by Meredith Russo. I chose that one to fulfill the prompt to read a library book. We also had To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers, Stronger, Faster and More Beautiful by Arwen Ellis Dayton, and Obsidio by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. They were all to fulfill the prompts to read a sci-fi, which I rolled 3 of last month. We also had The Beast and the Beauty, that is Crescent City or House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. That was selected by Ashley for me to read as I landed on Friendpick. We also had Will the Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Doughty. This one was to fulfill the prompt to read the last book I acquired into my permanent collection. And we also had one chance card, which was The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. And I am pleased to say, guys, that I read every single book in this stack in the month of January. The only one I have not finished yet is The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. However, I am 200 pages in and there are still 2 full days left of the month, so I'm going to smash that one as well. So as January was such a spectacular success, I am hoping that that energy is going to carry through into February. So let us see and get into our first roll. Okay, so last month we ended on science fiction. First roll. 5. Fantasy romance, yes! So our first roll was fantasy romance, and I cannot tell you how happy I am because I have felt such a need for fantasy romance. I mean, it's been brewing for quite a few months, but I read House of Earth and Blood last month, guys. And I need some more fantasy romance. So in February, I will be reading Lord of the Fading Lands by C.L. Wilson. This is a book that I picked up because I found it on a list of the most popular fantasy romances ever. This was rated higher than A Court of Mist and Fury, which is one of my favorite books of all time because it has some killer romance aspects. So when I saw it at number 2 on this list, I had to give it a go. Not gonna lie, I trusted the Goodreads list when I picked this up, so my grasp of the plot is a little bit shaky, but I believe that this book follows a man called Tyrone Soul, and there is a race of people in this story, and the health and longevity of this race is tied to this big cat species, but the big cats are becoming sickly, and that means that the race is going to die out. And that is the extent of my knowledge of the plot of this. I do know a couple of things it contains. I know that there is a true love soulmate kind of plot in here, and that was the only negative thing that people had to say about this on Goodreads. You guys have told me that you really love C.L. Wilson, so you know, I'm gonna give it a go. This is either gonna be really good or really bad, and I can't wait to see what I think. Roll number 2. 10. A Community Shelf. Read a book by Colleen Hoover. Rule number 2 was a community shelf, and the card we pulled this time was to read a Colleen Hoover book. Now this may seem a little bit strange, but I didn't replace all of the community shelf cards when I remade Bookopoly last month, and one of my 2019 goals was to read more from Colleen Hoover and Taylor Jenkins Reid, as I do really like them as contemporary romance authors, but you guys know I don't read contemporary all that often. Now, as somebody who doesn't love contemporary, the reason that I particularly like Colleen Hoover is because her stories are super angsty and super dramatic, and that is what I like from a contemporary romance. So I do own 2 Colleen Hoover books, but all of her works are on Scribd, so I struggled with picking this one, but I thought I'd better go for one from my own TBR. So in February, I will be reading It Ends With Us. I have only scanned the plot of this, but I believe it follows a girl who is from a small town who went to college, moved to Boston, kind of left that small town life behind her. While she was in Boston, she met a neurosurgeon and they started a relationship. However, it appears that at some point throughout the course of this novel, the main character's ex from a long time ago comes back, and he's like the lost love of her life, so I imagine that is going to cause some drama. Like I said, love drama, love angst. Colleen Hoover can be slightly problematic, but I do actually really like that in a romance, so I'm very excited to be reading this one, because sometimes, you know, you just need a helping of those angsty feels. Rule number 3, double 2. Read a dystopian. I would be shocked that I rolled a double, but at this point it's pretty normal. This time we landed on Dystopian, and for that I will actually be rereading Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. This is the 2nd book in the Hunger Games trilogy. I don't feel like I really need to tell you what this one is about, but in case you don't know, the Hunger Games follows Katniss Everdeen, who is a young girl who lives in a world where every year they do a reaping, which is where they put all of the names of all of the children in all of the areas into a bowl, and a boy and a girl from each area is picked out, and from there they have to go into an arena and fight to the death for the entertainment of the country's elite. This is actually my favorite book in the trilogy. I reread The Hunger Games last year and I wasn't actually going to continue with my reread. However, there is a prequel novel to this trilogy being released later in the year, so I thought I may as well continue my reread so I can recap and get to see what young President Snow was doing, which is an interesting perspective, but who knows, it might be good. Number 4. Another double and 6. Read a middle grade. Another double. It's not looking good for those readathons, is it, guys? This time I landed on middle grade, so I will be reading Wondersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is the sequel to Nevermore, which is a middle grade story that everybody loves, and rightfully so. I read Nevermore in January and it blew me away how much I loved it, so naturally I'm very eager to get to the sequel. So in Nevermore we follow a young girl called Morrigan Crow who is destined to die on the eve of her 11th birthday. However, in this world they have something called a bid day, which is where influential people and professionals from various academies come to bid on children who are coming of age to kind of take on as apprentices. Now Morrigan thinks nothing of this because she is cursed, so of course nobody's going to bid on her. However, she is taken aback when Jupiter North does in fact bid on her and whisks her away just before she is about to die and takes her to the wondrous city of Nevermore, where he enrolls her into a series of trials that, if she completes them, will gain her entry into the wondrous society. So that was the plot of the first book. In the sequel, I think we have a magic school setting, and after the revelations at the end of Nevermore, I am really excited to see where this series is going. The final book is also released later in the year, so I'm happy that I actually jumped on this series now and will be able to read its conclusion as soon as it is available. This book was also kindly gifted to me by Amanda as well, so thank you very much, Amanda, for that. Rule number 5. 9. An ebook or an audiobook. So rule number 5 was to read an ebook or an audiobook, and I do actually have an ARC on NetGalley at the moment. I don't usually use NetGalley, but for some reason I went on and I requested a book and I was approved. Yeah, I should explain myself. It's called The Raven and the Dove by Caitlin Davis, and to be honest, I saw this cover and I thought that the guy looked like Rhysand. I just finished House of Earth and Blood. I was feeling a particular kind of way, and then I read the synopsis. First off, it said it was for fans of Saboteur and Sarah J Maas, and I'm just going to read you a little bit of the synopsis. On the dawn of her courtship trials, Princess Lyanna Athenius knows she should be focused on winning her perfect mate. Yet her thoughts wander to the open sky waiting at the edge of her floating kingdom. One final adventure calls. Upon fleeing the palace, the last thing she expects to find is a raven prince locked in a death match with a dragon. Reviled son of a dead king, Rafe would do anything for his beloved half-brother Prince Lysander Taytanus, including posing as him in the upcoming courtship trials. When a dragon interrupts their secret exchange, he orders his studious sibling to run. After suffering a fatal blow, Rafe is saved by a beautiful dove who possesses forbidden magic just like him. Unknown to the world above, on the foggy sea 10,000 feet below, a young king fights a forgotten war. He believes Lyanna is the queen prophesied to save the world, and with the help of his favoured spy, hidden deep in the highest ranks of the Dove royal house, he will stop at nothing to have her. So yeah, it's the young adult fantasy romance as far as I can tell. I kind of requested it because I thought it was a Sarah J Maas ripoff, so I guess we'll see. It's actually 500 pages, which I did not know when I requested it, but yeah, we're adding this one to my TBR, and I guess you guys can follow my vlogs and my wrap up at the end of February and see what I actually thought of this one. Roll number 6, 7, 7, a science fiction. Roll number 6 was to read a sci-fi, which, you know, this is the second month of the new board and I've landed on that space 4 times. This month I will be reading Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This one is the Goldsboro edition with the purple sprayed edges, and it is also signed and numbered. So I was waiting until I finished the Illuminate files to read this series, and since I just read Obsidio, I thought I may as well dive right in before the sequel is released in May. It's actually released on my birthday. So this one I don't know too much about, purely because I bought it based on the authors, because Jay Kristoff is one of my favorite authors and I love the Illuminate files, which he also wrote with Amy Kaufman. But what I do know is that we follow a character who is just about to graduate flight school, but something makes him late to his graduation ceremony. Because of this, instead of having the pick of the entire group of flight school students, because he finished at the top of his class, he is left with the dregs and puts together this ramshackle crew. I think I actually may listen to the audiobook of this as well, because it has been put together by the same people who put together the Illuminate files audiobook, and it does have some of the same cast, so I think I will have a fun experience with that. There is a little bit of mixed media in this, but it is mainly just normal text, but I love the Illuminate files audiobooks, so I'll give this one a try as well. And what will hopefully be our last roll? 8. An adult fantasy. And our final roll number 7, landed on adult fantasy. For this one, I'm going to be reading The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I should probably be continuing on with some of the series I have open, but as I said, I would like to participate in Polathon this month, and this is a Russian-inspired fantasy that takes place in a snowy setting. So if I remember correctly, this book follows a young girl who comes from a country that is rich with mythology and folklore. However, the country is starting to change and become more religious, which means that the fairy tale aspects and the mythology and that kind of folklore are actually dying out, as it is now illegal. I'm not sure if it's strictly illegal, but you're not supposed to talk about it. I think that because of this, something is happening to the magical elements in this world, and our main character needs to stop them from dying out. That was a really bad explanation. You guys know I'm normally much better at this, but the synopsis that's actually on the back of the book doesn't say too much, and I haven't heard many people talk about this for quite a while, so my memory's a little bit rusty. Regardless, I think I will really enjoy this. It's one that I have had on my shelves for a while with the intention to read, so Polathon will be a perfect time to do that. I really like stories that feature mythology, folklore, fairy tales, all that kind of stuff, and I believe that this book is also quite beautifully written and atmospheric, which is something else that I love in fantasy stories. So that is it for my Bookopoly TBR. However, I have actually agreed to quite a few buddy reads in February, and I didn't manage to get a single one of them on my TBR. So the first one, you guys will be very pleased to hear that Jade and I are actually finally going to continue with our read of the Grishaverse, and we will finally, hopefully, be reading Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Six of Crows duology at the moment, maybe trilogy eventually. In the first book, Six of Crows, we follow a band of 6 criminals and thieves who have been assembled by Cass Brecker to break the inventor of a drug that is very dangerous to Grisha out of a maximum security prison. I gave Six of Crows 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I know that this book is quite sad and it's quite a character-driven duology. I don't love the characters as much as everybody does, but I do love Kaz and Inej. So I'm hoping that this one is really gonna like pull me in with these characters and then tear apart my heart, because that is is what I like to read. We then have A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. This is the first book in my favorite series of all time. I'm actually going to be buddy reading this with Gav and Ashley. Ashley and myself will be rereading it. This is the 4th time I think I've read ACOTAR, and Gavin will be reading it for the first time, and we will be doing that all together at my house on the 15th of February, as we will all be participating in Brit from basically Brit's 24-hour readathon. If you are unfamiliar with A Court of Thorns and Roses, it is the story of Feyre Archeron, who is a human girl who comes from a family that is quite poor. Her sisters are next to useless, and Feyre is responsible for feeding her family. Because of this, she is out in the woods in a particular harsh winter, and she accidentally kills a Fey sentry that was in the body of a wolf, and because of this, she has to exchange her life for his, and is dragged away by the High Lord of the Spring Court to the fairy world, where she will have to live out the rest of her days. This is both a Beauty and the Beast retelling and also a Tamlin retelling. I love this book. A lot of people just love the second book in this series. I love this one. I love them all, and I'm really excited to be revisiting this series this year. And then the last book on my February TBR is going to be Spellslinger by Sebastian D. Castell. This is the first book in a young adult fantasy series that follows a young man called Kel, who is about to participate in a mage's duel when he finds out that his magic has mysteriously gone missing. This is one of Jade from J.D. Ray Reid's favourite series, so I've wanted to read it for quite some time. This was kindly gifted to me by the lovely Erica, and I will also be buddy reading this with Erica in the month of February. Have to admit, not sure what to expect from this one, because it was one that I had seen around but never really shown much interest in until I found out that it was one of Jade's favourite series ever, and now I'm very intrigued at what this book has to hold. Okay guys, so here is my February TBR. Don't forget that there is also a 500-page ebook to be added to this as well. I think that this is about double the size of my January TBR in like page count. I do not think that there is a single book under 400 pages in this entire stack. Please wish me luck. So that is about it for my February TBR. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, February is the shortest month of the year, so I think I may struggle quite a bit with this one. But keep your fingers crossed for me, guys. I can do it. I can do it. Of course I can. So please let me know if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them. Please also don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to. If you head into my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram, Twitter if you would like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish body butter and candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today, guys. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.